Shep Smith on Fox News stopped playing around on the issue of gay marriage, and he framed the discussion in the best possible way. Let's watch.
It not in every case, but in most cases, the same states which were fighting integration are fighting this as well. Those states which always seem to be behind the curve for reasons which are explainable and understandable. Those are the places where this is going to turn out to be the most difficult, especially if the Supreme Court stays with what has seemed to be a trend toward inclusion and away from discrimination.
Yeah, there's still disagreement on this issue within the American population, even though you have seen there's
still disagreement on segregation, too.
That too.
Oh, man, that hurt. That hurt. That's a Fox News host. You want to talk about stepping up. I haven't heard anybody on CNN or MSNBC frame the conversation in that way. That, you know, these states that are fighting against this, fighting against gay marriage, are the same states that fought against integration. And sure, okay, it's still a debatable issue. I hear you. You know what else some people are still debating? The issue of segregation. Have you been to the backwoods of Mississippi and spoken to a guy who's 78 years old and hasn't really been following stuff closely? I'm sure he still throws around the N-word very casually, and I'm sure he still has these backward beliefs. Man, that's so great. I want every single host on every single mainstream network to learn something and to do the same thing. It stuns me how people usually avoid things that are fairly obvious in terms of framing conversations. Like, all you have to do is look at the demographic map, look at the history of the civil rights struggle, and you see, he's actually said, well, in some of the states, these are the states that fought integration. No, it's all of them. All of the states that have more people who are anti-gay marriage are all of the states that were terrible on issues of racism. It's just a fact, man. It's just a fact. And to the idea that, well, they're behind on this issue, it's not just that issue, okay? It's pretty much every issue. When you look at economics, too, I mean, these are states that have the worst social safety nets. They have higher levels of poverty, higher levels of obesity, higher levels of teen pregnancy, higher levels of STD rates, everything across the board. Their education systems are worse, their healthcare systems are worse, their economies are worse. Again, when people might listen to this and get offended, but it doesn't fucking matter if you're offended by it. I'm just simply reporting what the reality is about these places. If you want to change it, by all means, that's what I'm here to try to fucking get people to recognize and to try to do. I want people to stand up in these states. I want the more progressive ideas and policies to win out in these states, but you just point out the reality of it is just that. It's pointing out the reality of it. There's nothing discriminatory about it. There's nothing, anti-red state about it. It's just saying, hey, look at this data. Isn't this kind of fucked up? So, yes, on the issue of gay rights, there absolutely is an understanding and there absolutely is an analogy that you can make to the civil rights movement. I mean, we're talking about part of the civil rights movement. People don't even remember this, is that, sure, that we got the Voting Rights Act passed, we got the Civil Rights Act passed, but the mentality stayed largely the same, and it changed a little bit over the years, but it wasn't like the day they signed the bills that all the white people in Mississippi and Alabama were like, oh, okay, I guess I'm pro-Negro now, as they used to call them. No, that didn't happen. The mindset was very rigid, and it takes a really long time to change it. And also, interracial marriage didn't fall until much later. There was still a ban on interracial marriage in many red states until much later. And the same arguments that were used against interracial marriage are the same arguments that they're using now against gay marriage. They say, oh, you got to understand, it's not me that's against interracial marriage, it's the Bible that's against interracial marriage. And I'm just simply listening to God, and God says that you cannot intermix between the tribes. So if you tell me that I can't ban gay marriage in my state, then you're telling me that you're an anti-Christian bigot who's taking away my freedom of religion. That's always how they frame it. It's always been framed as the oppressors saying, no, we are the oppressed. You don't get it. We are the oppressed. No, you're the people that are taking away the rights of consenting adults that have nothing to fucking do with you, whether it's an interracial marriage or whether it's a gay marriage like today. we're talking not just about the title marriage, which is also important, but we're talking about Social Security rights under law, inheritance rights under law, tax rights when they're alive where they can jointly file, and there's all these different things, all these different legal technicalities that go into it. And when you say to a gay couple, we're not going to give you the same rights as straight people, that's quite literally violating the principle of equal protection under the law guaranteed in the 14th Amendment. So it is great that we have even a Fox News host now, Shep Smith, who's always been one of the more reasonable guys on Fox News. He's framing the discussion in a way that makes sense. And hopefully this is a shock to the system of whatever moderate viewers are left watching Fox News, and they might go, oh, yeah, I guess there is sort of a connection there, isn't there, between the civil rights movement and the gay rights movement.